Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel for another edition of Andy the Gabby Cabby, live and alive from the garage. Hope everyone is okay today and enjoying. Well, we're nearly at the end of the week, aren't we? Now, as you see from the title of this live stream, Runcorn and Helsby by-election trial judgment day is September the 11th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. Pray for justice. Who I have waiting in the green room is Graeme Moore, the leader of the English Constitution Party. Precisely half an hour ago, he received some very, very big news. And what I'm going to do without further delay is bring him on and we can talk about this and where we're going now. So here he is. Good morning, Graeme. How are you?
Good morning. I am very well, thank you. Sorry for the delay, but I actually lost one of my hearing aids and I was trying to find it. It dropped on the floor, and you know when something bounces and then you don't know where it's gone. I ended up because otherwise I couldn't hear it. I wouldn't have been able to hear a word. So I'm very well, Andy, and I'm very pleased to be on this show because you are one of the, and there wasn't many of us, alternative media news that have helped us promote this particular election petition. So, did you want me to explain things or what?
Yeah, I think just very briefly for a couple of minutes, just for the uninitiated or people who haven't followed this story. Just go back a couple of months because we've got where you stood in a Runcorn and Helsby by-election. We know that Sarah Posham was returned as the MP. You very quickly identified, let's say, irregularities to keep it as simple as possible within the voting process. There was a hearing in London to determine whether two hearings in London to determine whether a trial would be granted to, sort this mess out. And
Right.
Half an hour ago, you received some news regarding that. So you take it from there.
So the biggest part of this, and to the audience, there were four respondents, and that is the head of the Royal Mail, because leaflets were not delivered, etc. The Chief Constable of Cheshire, because they had interfered with our campaigning and had not investigated election fraud or irregularities, which they're supposed to do. There is the returning officer for returning, which we believe is a fraudulent return, and there is Sarah Posham. So I was up against basically two King's Counsels. They was all trying to strike out the petition. An election petition means, if granted, means two High Court judges travelled to Runcorn and Helsby on behalf of the people of Runcorn and Helsby. Two High Court judges listen to what's gone on, right? And that basically they can then either or do both. They can ask for a recount, a full individual recount, meaning not a bundle count, right? So in other words, they look at every single vote again, a full recount, or at the end of that process, they can decide there needs to be a new election. Right, so they'll make sure that there's a new election because there's so much skullduggery gone on. It isn't what's known in law as a free and pure election. So therefore, there needs to be another one. Right. Cut a long story short, I was up against two King's Counsels, two barristers, and an army of solicitors. And just to make sure your audience know this, for almost a day and a half, they was arguing to strike out the petition. They are terrified of this coming before two judges, and the end result is I won, and that means there will be an election petition to turn over that to void that election, or to have a full recount, which could lead to a voiding. The most important thing is I'm just a normal everyday person, and if I can stand up, by the way, just one elector can do this. This is why it's so important to vote, right? Because if you didn't vote in that election, you cannot bring an election petition, and a single elector in a general or a by-election can bring this petition. So obviously they're trying to hit me at the moment with various costs, etc. I haven't read the order yet, but we are going to challenge it. Just to let you know that I won, and yet now they're still trying to make me be the person who's paying for it, right? When I've said that's not happening, right? In fact, I won the legal argument, so making sure your audience know this. Nowhere in any of my arguments, my oral arguments, or any of my skeleton arguments did I say anywhere I'm a living man, right? I presented the law of the land. I presented our rights to 2 High Court judges in front of a packed gallery. They listened and they found in my favour, right? Against 2 King's counsels, 2 barristers acting independently for 4 respondents, and an army of solicitors. And I can tell you, them people don't like the fact that we, the people, won. So that, in a nutshell, is the petition. The election trial in Runcorn and Helsby goes ahead.